Hey everybody, I got morning voice because it's really early. Just wanted to share some thoughts and here we go. I think if you remember being a kid, that it was really hard to imagine how to fit in with other people when everyone was showing you how different you are. And I've gone to 2 different new school systems, and I think as a kid, when I was younger, I was more aware of it intuitively. When I was older, I was more aware of it intuitively and just a little higher degree, I guess. But when you start a new school with kids you didn't grow up in and they're not familiar with you, they're familiar with their peers because they've had a lot of just mundane time together. At school you eat meals, you have a lot of life together, and when they're familiar with you, it's just kind of baked into the cake. But when you change schools, they've had more time with people they've been to school with since they were in preschool or kindergarten or first grade. So when I was in 3rd grade, after Winter Storm 93, we moved to Irondale, and I started a new school then. And then in 6th grade, instead of going to Gresham with everybody else in that school mostly went, we were zoned to Leeds. And so I went to Leeds middle school and high school. That's where I was zoned. And it's interesting. Kids have their own way of letting you know you don't belong. And I don't mean it as simple as you don't belong. I mean it more like the way it works is, I'm not familiar with you. I'm more familiar with these people I've spent most of my life with. You're new. And what happens with kids is everything that's different about you that they're not familiar with gets pointed out to you. And so I just wanted to use this as an example to ask you, when it comes to your neighbor, how easy is it to be included or to understand that you're welcome when all of the actions that they have remind you about how you're different and how to them you're not normal? And I want to be careful getting into not normal as a good or bad thing. I just want to leave it basically like, I'm not familiar with you. So I think for people who truly desire for the world to get past racism so that we all can look at life as humans and learn from each other as humans, and I can hear the wisdom of my black brother and sister, my black grandparents. I can hear the wisdom of their life and what they've learned through the framework of their humanity instead of just their race. If we truly desire to do that, we've got to look at our behaviors that are constantly communicating to other people, I'm not familiar with you, I don't know you. That's the mildest way I can put the way that just familiarity works. We show people we're not familiar with all the ways we don't know them. People can minimize everything, but like even flesh tone band-aids coming in a spectrum of colors other than beige. Me, it would be pasty white. So even the beige ones don't quite hit the mark with me. Even a band-aid not having the assumption of what's familiar to the creator. I can imagine those things happening not on purpose, but that our imagination never goes on to include the spectrum of where people are and what is normal for them. I just want to ask that question. How do you, in your own world, feel comfortable with a group of people whose actions are constantly reminding you of how you're different and you're not like them? And they let you know in their own ways. Let's go all the way back to what I said about preschool or grade school, and then middle school and high school. I remember it just felt so unmerciful, but it happens in an intuitive way. I didn't have it like an indicator in the corner saying, these people don't know you because you haven't been with them since preschool. You're different to them. I didn't have an indicator. It was my intuition. I felt really awkward, and it felt difficult to not understand why I'm not allowed to be considered part of the group or normal. And of course I'm who I am anyway, so I have plenty of what makes me different on that front as well. But anyway, how do you mean for your neighbors to really feel like they're part of your world and they have dignity if all they get from you is how they're not normal? And do you really want the way you express human dignity to your neighbor to be based on whether or not you're familiar with them? Or I'm missing my mark. I really want to learn from the wisdom of other people's life experience. And that's one of my motivations for us to start being careful, or to continue being careful, with not treating our neighbors like we don't have an investment in their life. And we really value this being a human picture. We can play our own role in not telling our black brothers and sisters that they're not normal and they're not part of our reality. Our investment in ourselves includes our investment in our neighbors. Otherwise, we don't have a good investment. I hope this is helpful. I wish you all my best.